Whoa, buddy. Put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
The greed and the entitlement is astounding to me.
What more could you want from a low-budget radio program?
This is a dumpster fire.
That was just BS.
It is time to get a new perspective.
We know just what you need, and we've got just the cure. Open wide and prepare for a steaming hot cup of freedom.
I just don't fathom it.
The Michael Dukes Show, streaming live across the world.
Live around the world on the internet at MichaelDukesShow.com and across the state of Alaska on this, your favorite radio station and or FM translator. Good morning, my friends, and welcome to the program. It is Friday, your chance to sound off on issues of a 2A nature. That's right, one day a week that we dedicate to firearms and the Second Amendment and stories like that from around the country. We do that because otherwise we'd be talking about guns all week. It's just one of my favorite topics to discuss, and we had to focus it all down here into one day. So it's good. It's good. Glad you're here. Glad you could make it, and happy that you are with us. Joining us this morning in hour one in just a moment is going to be Dr. John Lott, who is the president of the Crime Research Prevention Center. You can find them at crimeresearch.org. He's also the author of a slew of books, including More Guns, Less Crime, The War on Guns, Myth About Gun Control, and more. He's also written several articles, a couple of which we're going to get into today, talking about some of the various things that are going on. And Dr. Lott focuses a lot on the gun culture and the fight over the Second Amendment across the country, specifically from a statistical and empirical standpoint. So we're going to talk with him about that in just a second. In hour two, we have a bunch of headlines to go through from around the country and around the world, quite honestly. Some new things happening in Australia as well. And we'll finish up the day, as we always do on Fridays. Well, this time for the first time on Fridays with Willie Waffle, who comes in to join us and give us a bit of a breakdown on the entertainment angle and entertainment review. It's just a lighter side segment to end the week so that we can go into the weekend with a happy heart. And that's all coming up on today's program. So that's it. Without further ado, let's just jump into it, shall we, and get things ready to go. Joining us on the telephone today is Dr. John Lott, again, president of the Crime Prevention Research Center. Find him and all of his research and more at crimeresearch.org. And he joins us this morning to talk about the Supreme Court and the battle that's going on over the safe spaces, the gun-free zone discussions in Hawaii right now. That's before the Supreme Court. Dr. John Lott is with us. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Doing great. Great to talk to you. Thanks for having me on again.
Well, I appreciate you coming on and talking about it. This is something that you and I have talked about quite frequently over the years, Dr. Lott. Let's set the stage for just a second. Gun-free zones are really one of the last bastion holdouts after Bruin of states attempting to exert their political philosophy on the Second Amendment and on people, and they really do nothing other than create high-risk environments for people who would like to be safe but are unable to be able to defend themselves. This is a problem that you've talked about for quite a while.
Yeah. The notion that somehow you'll make people safer by putting up a sign that bans guns in place. What you end up doing is just creating a target for, and actually a magnet for those who want to go and do harm. I mean, if you have, let's say, a 5-year prison term for somebody going and violating one of these gun-free zones, for you or I, that's a huge penalty. Our lives would be completely changed. But let's say you're somebody who's planning on going in there and murdering lots of people. You're going to murder 5 people. and are going to be facing 5 life sentences or 5 death penalties. Does anybody think that taking 5 years away from your 6th life is going to be a real penalty for that individual to dissuade them from doing it? And the answer is no. It's no penalty effectively for them, even if they live. And the vast majority of the time, people go in and do something like that, die at the scene. So all you've done with those types of rules is pass a law that just assures the criminal that they'll be the only person that's going to be armed. And you see this, if people don't understand that, just read the diaries and manifestos for these mass murders. Time after time after time, they explain why they pick the targets that they do. And they're very explicit. They explain in detail that, these are people who want to commit suicide, but they want to get attention. And they know the more people they kill, the more media attention that they're going to get. And they know if they go to a place where their victims aren't able to go and defend themselves, they're going to be able to go and kill more people and get more media attention.
It's amazing to me, as you note, that people who have already decided to break the law, who decided to, rob, murder, kill, that somehow a placard that says no guns allowed is somehow going to generate that final thought of staying them is the ultimate of ridiculousness. Now, as I said, post Bruin, a lot of states attempted to bypass the Supreme Court's decision by putting in other things into their laws that would limit the ability of people to be able to defend themselves. Hawaii was one of them, and they did that by creating exclusion zones in various places, creating these safe spaces, and also, of course, changing the law so that private property is affected by this as well. And that's what's up in front of the Supreme Court. Can you give us some details here?
Yeah, well, look, you had the Bruin decision from the Supreme Court in 2022. And what it said is you had these 7 states, these so-called may issue states, that went out and said, you have to go and provide a good reason for why some public officials should grant you the right to be able to carry a concealed handgun. And, the problem is that it was very arbitrary in terms of who they decided had a good reason or not. And the Supreme Court said, look, you can have objective rules for determining. You can have background checks. You can have age requirements. You can have fees. You can have training requirements. But once somebody has met those objective criteria, then you have to go and grant your permit. And the problem is that you had 5 states, Hawaii, California, New York, New Jersey, and Maryland, that said, okay, fine. If you're going to force us to go and issue permits to people, we're going to make it so we can give you a permit. It's just that you're not going to be able to use it anyplace because the vast majority of the state is going to be off limits for you to carry. And that's what Hawaii did. And that's the case before the Supreme Court. I hope, so here's the thing. I'm from listening to the oral arguments, I'm very certain that Hawaii's law is going to get struck down. Often, my guess is very likely by a 6-3 decision, with the Republicans saying, yeah, strike it down, and the Democrats saying, no, keep the Hawaiian law that you see in these other 4 states. The crucial question is going to be what their reasoning is. I hope what they say is, look, there are sensitive places there where you're going to be able to go and bag guns. But if you're really serious about this, you have to do more than what we just talked about earlier, and that is putting up a sign. Just putting up a sign isn't going to cut it. If you are going to prevent people from being able to go and protect themselves, you are going to have, the state, the government, are going to have to take some responsibility then for protecting them. And you're going to have to do more than have a sign put up. You're going to have to go and, I don't know whether it's going to be metal detectors or whether it's going to be, actually police presence. They're going to have to be there in order to protect people. But you're going to have something serious there to protect people. And I hope that's the decision that they make. And if they make that decision, then what's going to happen is that gun-free zones across the country are going to be in trouble because so many states just think, well, all we have to do is post a sign, and that will ban people from having guns.
The unique part about the Hawaii case is not only was it just regular public spaces that they were banning, but also the so-called vampire law, where private property, you were disbarred from carrying on private property of any kind unless you had explicit permission from the owner of the property for doing so, which kind of turns it on its head, the whole idea and the law on its head. And and that's what one of the biggest things that they're fighting about right now. And again, Bruin calls for historical foundation of any of these things, that you have to show that it has historically been the way that we have done things since the enactment of the Second Amendment, or the 14th Amendment in this case as well. What's your thoughts on that, and how they defended it in their oral arguments in showing this historical foundation?
Right. Well, first of all, unless you got either oral or written permission from the owner, you weren't even allowed to go into the parking lot in these places. So, it's not like even if they put a sign up on the door, if you go to a gas station or you go to a grocery store or a restaurant or whatever, you'd have to first of all check to see whether or not that place has posted a sign on their door to see whether you'd even be able to be in the parking lot. And, it makes it impractical for people to carry in most places. As far as the historical background, you're right. Both the Heller and the Bruin decision really didn't add anything new to this. Basically said you had to go and see what the historical tradition was when either the Second Amendment was adopted in 1791 or the 14th Amendment applied the Bill of Rights to the states in 1867. And so the big thing that they were relying on was this 1865 law that was passed in Louisiana right after the Civil War, part of the Black Codes, which were basically set up in order to disarm blacks. Because they wanted to make sure that blacks weren't able to go and protect themselves against, the Klan and other groups that were being formed after the Civil War. And so, it's just kind of ironic that here you have Justice Jackson, you have, Democrats just trying to point to this racist law as the basis for saying that we're able to go and prevent people today from being able to go and carry guns for protection. You'd think that they would be embarrassed by that. A lot of the argument was, this law is unconstitutional, this Black Code law, and Democrats would say, well, it wasn't found unconstitutional yet. So at least at the time in 1865, it was viewed as constitutional, and so and they're effectively relying on things like Plessy v. Ferguson, which supported some of these Black Code type laws. Which if you ever went to law school, you would find out that this was like incredibly. Law schools just spend so much time berating these Black Code laws, and as being unconstitutional, and yet they would, I guess, kind of wonder whether blacks out there, they listen to the Democrats say how much they care about blacks, and yet they would go and try to resuscitate, at least for this case, the implications from a Black Code law.
That's some twisty logic. That is some seriously twisty logic to say, well, it hadn't been ruled unconstitutional yet, so we're going to say that it has to stand because it hadn't been ruled That's the problem. You get a law that's unconstitutional, and it's supposed to strike down everything from before that that implied that that implicated that law, and yet this is the argument that they're going to. And this is part of the problem, Dr. Lott, is that in every instance where we see this national historical foundation trying to be applied, they just can't find the laws that make it work, and they twist so many. They try to make vague laws on something that didn't really have anything to do with the point at hand. Try to make it fit, and we've seen that in case after case after case.
Yeah, right. And you would hope that they'd be embarrassed. But the thing is also, and this was part of the arguments in the oral arguments this last Tuesday, was that you can't just point to one law. You're supposed to go and point to that it was a general pattern of similar laws. And so they had one other law from like from colonial periods, from New Jersey, which really didn't apply. But it was just funny to see the gymnastics that they were willing to go through in order to try to even point out that there might be some common pattern that was there.
Dr. John Lott is our guest. You can find his work and research at crimeresearch.org. And his latest article in the Wall Street Journal talking specifically about this. Hawaii tries to evade the Second Amendment. We're going to continue our discussion with him here in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. The Michael Duke Show continues. It's Firearms Friday. We'll be back with more here in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. Don't forget, you can always check us out on Facebook as well. Facebook.com/Michael Duke Show. If you'd like to be part of the discussion today, feel free to jump on board and join us in there. We'll be back with more in just a moment with Dr. John Lott right after this.
Running on 100% pure beard power. Oh, also some coffee. We dip our beard in coffee.
Nice beard.
The Michael Duke Show.
Okay, Dr. John Lott is our guest. We're in the commercial break right now. I want to switch gears just briefly. Dr. Lott has written a new article over on the New York Post, which is talking about the ICE enforcement records and how we're seeing the news media basically bend and portray these ICE raids around the country as if they're something new or something that is going horribly wrong. I found it ironic, Dr. Lott, that the video surfaced of Tom Homan, the ICE chief, the head of Homeland Security, receiving a presidential rank medal from Obama for deporting, 900,000 illegals back under Obama's tenure, and now the guy is being vilified for deporting even less than that in under Trump. This is really kind of that whole derangement system of Trump bad, everybody else good. But the media just has run with this narrative, and you've outlined some fantastic details on this. Give us a brief summary here in this segment.
Okay, you don't want to wait to do this for the general radio show?
I mean, we can at the end. I want to tease it though, for at least for before we come back to the Hawaii thing.
Sure. Okay. Well, you have all these claims in the media about 32 people dying in detention. You have the fact that 170 Americans were arrested and detained by ICE. You have other claims, similar claims. And, it's just amazing to me how first of all, there's so many inaccuracies with these types of claims. So the 170, they don't mention that 130 of those were arrested because they had assault or interfered with ICE officers. It's nothing to do with, it's not like they were accidentally picking up American citizens for those 130 that's there. And then for the 40, you had most of them were detained for less than a day, and most of those were just detained for a few hours until they were checked. There's literally only 3 that were held for more than 48 hours while they were being checked there. This notion that ICE is simply going around and picking up people based on the color of their skin is simply false. This was something else that the Supreme Court had heard oral arguments on, and you could tell that they were very clear that people, it's much more than just oral arguments. Just much more than race there. That may be one factor, but it had to be one factor of many that were there. And the other thing is just to compare it to the Obama administration. Now, you mentioned the number of the 900,000 number under Obama. Now, part of that, though, is greatly exaggerated compared to Trump, because Trump's detainees and deportations were people that were picked up within the United States. Obama kind of changed how to count those, and a lot of the people that he had were so-called turnbacks, people that tried to come across the border and you just said, stop,
right?
You can't come across. About 70 to 75% of the number for Obama are that. But look, even ignoring that, which is a pretty important caveat there, what you find is that if you take during the Obama administration, 56 people died. So the rate, the per detainee rate of death is actually higher. And also the rate that Americans were accidentally detained is actually 3.5 times higher during Obama than it was during Trump.
That's a good tease, John. Let's get back to it here. We'll come back to that in our final segment and spend the whole segment on that because it is a fascinating discussion. Dr. John Lott, our guest, The Michael Duke Show. Here we go.
What the hell is an assault weapon? Does that mean that if we hurt your feelings, you should consider the Michael Dukes Show assault radio? Okay, we can accept that. Here's Michael Dukes. Kind of a dick, but somewhat funny.
All right, we're back. The Michael Dukes Show continues. Dr. John Lott, we were just getting a tease of the final segment here about Dr. Lott's latest article in the New York Post about Trump's ICE deportations, the numbers and the fallacies that are being put out there on that. But before we get back into that, let's go back to the Hawaii discussion and the Supreme Court case, which was being heard this week, oral arguments and others. But Dr. Lott, you point out that some of the briefs supporting Hawaii's law have got some similar flaws. And again, you're big into metrics, statistics, actual facts. You talk about how a lot of their briefs that they use are filled with similarly flawed data, including discussions on, how many people carried, and if you had if you had a gun, you were more than 4 times as likely to be shot as an assault. Talk about some of these statistics that these states use when they're fighting these cases that are obviously blurred or just misleading.
Right. Well, what often happens in these gun control cases is, since the gun control groups or advocates know that they don't have really a legal leg to stand on, they try to make public policy type arguments. Often large portions of their briefs are just asserting that we need to have these gun control laws, in this case, these gun-free zones, in every place from grocery stores to restaurants to gas stations, to make people safer. And, there are a couple things that were being brought up. That one was the fact that there's this study out of Philadelphia where they claimed that people who carry guns, were 4 times more likely to end up being injured by shooting than those who didn't. It's just such a stupid study. This whole debate right now is on permitted concealed carry. They're not talking about even constitutional carry in Hawaii. And what you'd presumably want to look at is what's the rate of people being shot who have concealed carry permits. But no, what they're looking at, they're looking at anybody who got shot. And they looked at kind of hospital admittance records. But the problem is essentially everybody who got shot was a gang member or a criminal. And it's just very different there to go and say, well, if somebody's a gang member, how often do they get shot? And they don't even, what you'd want to know in that case anyway is, how many gang members are there on the street that are carrying? But they don't take into account any of that type of information. They just look at hospital admittance, and those who end up getting shot tended to have guns also at high rates. And so it's not very useful. It's embarrassing that they have something that's primarily resting on gang members and criminals getting shot. And then there's something from the 17 states and the District of Columbia attorney generals where they go and say, well, look, all these private companies ban people, or generally what they say, quote, generally prohibit people having guns with them in stores, and they'll say Walmart and Kroger and others. The problem is some of these places will ask you not to openly carry, but that's very different than saying people can't carry concealed.
Right.
And what I point 20 states where you could ban people being able to carry concealed if you put up a sign that says guns are prohibited here, kind of the opposite rule of what was being discussed for Hawaii and these other 4 states. And none of these stores have policies where they tell their stores put up a sign in those places to prohibit people. None of the venues that they mentioned there have that type of restriction.
Yeah, and it's amazing. And of course, that leads on to the discussion about, people who can carry. And then you talk a little bit about the other thing, one of our favorite topics to discuss was DGF, defensive gun, DGU, defensive gun use, where there are, instances, millions of instances around the country, millions of instances a year where guns are used defensively in that regard. And this just disallows Hawaiians from being able to take part in that defensive gun use.
Right. Well, obviously, if you're prohibited from carrying, even if I'm prohibited carrying in some places, less than what they have in Hawaii, if I go to restaurants, say, or if I something like that, not only am I stopped from carrying there, but I'm going to be stopped from carrying other places. If I can't carry on public transportation, for example, I'm going to be banned on my way to public transportation and on my way from it.
This whole discussion revolves around permitted carriers, right? That's what you say. They're throwing all these things out there that have nothing to do. It has to do with open carry or constitutional carry or anything else. This all has to do with permitted holders, which seems to be anathema to what Hawaii and a lot of these other states want to do. But you also make a point in this article, which I love to highlight because we've gone over this a lot, but that permit holders are extremely law-abiding. In fact, even more law-abiding than police officers, right? I mean, that's what the studies show. That's what the numbers actually show.
Permit holders lose their permits for any type of firearms related violation at thousands or tens of thousands of 1 percentage point. They're convicted of firearms related crimes at 1/12 the rate that police are. Police are rarely convicted of firearms related offenses, but permit holders are even less so. Police are convicted of firearms related crimes at about 1/20th the rate of the general population. And permit holders are convicted about 1/12 the rate that police are.
So it's a significant amount. And of course, they actually try to avoid the whole thought that somehow a good guy with a gun, even though there's instances time and time again of showing a good guy with a gun being able to stop a crime, they completely omit or ignore the fact that concealed carry permit holders can actually keep the public safer. In fact, their innuendo is that, of course, is if they have a gun, violence is more likely to occur, people are more likely to die, and they ignore the statistics that show that that concealed carry permits can actually enhance that public safety.
Right. Well, I mean, partly that's understandable given that the news media is so biased against carrying those types of stories nationally. I mean, on our website at crimeresearch.org, we have literally since 2020, I think something like 50 cases where people who are legally carrying a permanent concealed handgun have stopped what police say otherwise would have been a mass public shooting if it hadn't been for the presence of a permit holder.
Dr. Lott, final thoughts here on the Hawaii case in front of the Supreme Court. You said it earlier. It sounded like the oral arguments that the law was going to be struck down. Can you give me just your thoughts on that and the backing on that before we go to break and come back?
Well, as I said, I think it'll be a 6-3 decision. I had, before the arguments, I'd hoped that somebody like Kagan would break with the Democrats. But look, I mean, this is a very consistent pattern. You see the Republican appointees on the Supreme Court support people having the ability to go and protect themselves and their families. The Democrats consistently over many years have said, no, you don't have that. And it just goes to show you that if the Democrats get back in charge and they get rid of the filibuster, which all the Democrats in the Senate are saying that they support getting rid of the filibuster, you'll end up having probably packing the Supreme Court. You'll have, places like D.C. and Puerto Rico get statehood. You'll have a whole bunch of crazy laws, and I assume packing the Supreme Court would let them go and undo these types of rules that we're talking about now.
It's a frustrating thing to be sure, but hopefully there is light at the tunnel, and hopefully this case, which is Wolford versus Lopez, will be struck down. But we'll wait and see what happens with that. Dr. John Lott is our guest. When we return, we're going to continue with Dr. Lott, but we're going to change gears just a bit to talk about his latest article in the New York Post, talking about how the enforcement record for Donald Trump is very, very different from President Obama, and just comparing the two with some numbers and some statistics and some truth that the news media refuses to cover. We're going to be back with this in just a moment. The Michael Dukes Show continues. Common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. Back with more after this.
If you missed the show, you can listen to it on your time with Dukes On Demand. Oh, and it's free. Like America used to be. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay, we're in the break right now. Dr. John Lott is our guest. Dr. Lott, what do you think the implications of this case? What does it mean if it does get struck down? Which, I mean, I agree. In going through some of the oral arguments and the commentary that I've read on this since Tuesday, what do you think happens to these other 5 states, or these other 4 states of the 5 that have put up these, safe spaces and vampire laws and everything else? Do they try and rejigger this? Is this the last gasp until they try and eliminate the filibuster? What do you think? How does this play out in the ripple effect?
Well, I mean, their laws like this will also be struck down. But my guess is they may come back and continue to do things like have high fees, have long training requirements, have other things just to reduce the number of people who can get a permanent concealed handgun. And then, you'll probably be back before the courts again on those types of things. So, it just, at that point, it may be about all they're able to go and do to stop people. But, that's probably likely where they're going to go.
It's interesting to watch. And again, one of the final things that you talked about was the public safety aspect and the fact that defensive gun use is so important to help protect citizens. What you said, 1.7 million times a year. That's reported, though, right? That's reported defensive gun use. And you and I have talked about in the past that a lot of times some of this stuff is just not reported. But it would.
Well, this tries to get at that through surveys. I mean, this is this isn't 1.7 report to the police. This is just these are large scale surveys that try to figure out what it's kind of like the National Crime Victimization Survey, only
Right.
It has better screening questions on it. So I think that's at least a reasonable number to go and use.
Well, and the one thing we didn't talk about was that you show that that civilian defense is actually even safer in a lot of ways than some of the police defense. That the incidents.
Well, yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so here's the deal, and that is people don't appreciate what an incredibly difficult job uniformed police officers have. Now, there are reasons why we want to have police in uniforms, strong reasons for that. But having somebody in uniform puts them at a real tactical disadvantage in stopping attacks. And the reason is that, let's say somebody wants to go and shoot up an area. If he sees an officer there who's in uniform, he has real tactical advantages. He can either wait for the officer to leave the area before he attacks, or he can go and move on to another target and go after people there. Both of those lower the probability that the officer is going to be present when the attack occurs. The other thing is, if he does decide to attack there with the officer, who do you think he shoots first? He's going to shoot the officer first, because the officer is the one person he knows who has a gun who might be able to go and stop him. And what we find is that if you look at all the active shooting attacks in the United States from 2014 through 2024, civilians actually stop more of those attacks. Civilians with concealed carry permits actually stopped more of those attacks than police did. And but police were 12 times more likely to end up being killed in stopping those attacks than concealed carry permit holders. It's kind of like being in uniform. It's kind of like having a sign above them that says a neon sign that says "Shoot me first."
Right. No, the private citizens become the force multiplier in those situations because, again, it's concealed. You don't know it. You don't expect them to be able to defend themselves. And historically, you made one mention, and I've closed the article now, but there was one mention that said that in the instances of civilian shootings, they actually they hadn't shot innocent bystanders. It was always, you're going to shoot innocent bystanders. You're not going to know, or you're going to interfere with the police when they show up and confuse the police. But that's not what the numbers show.
Right. So anyway, yeah, I mean, it's just there are a whole bunch of claims about what might possibly go wrong
Right.
with concealed carry permit holders. They shoot a bystander, or they get in the way of the police, or they have the gun taken away from them. Those are the types of things you see on TV cop shows all the time, where they try to make people fearful of
Yeah.
people carrying concealed handguns.
Right.
But when you actually look at the data there, you just don't see that happening. You see, there's a couple cases where permit holders accidentally shoot bystanders, but actually the police are several times more likely to go and accidentally shoot a bystander or another cop. That's one thing you don't see at all with
Those numbers.
permit holders.
Yeah.
There's no,
It's crazy stuff. Here we go.
What the hell's an assault weapon? What isn't? If I assault you with a penguin, doesn't that make it an assault weapon? Does this mean that if we hurt your feelings, you'd consider the Michael Dukes Show assault radio? Okay, we can live with that. Here's Michael Dukes.
All right, we're continuing now with Dr. John Lott, who's the president of the Crime Prevention Research Center. You can find his data and all of his reporting and articles at crimeresearch.org. His latest article is in the New York Post, and it's titled, How Trump's ICE Enforcement Record Blows Obama's Out of the Water by a Lot. And of course, we know that the ICE raids have been news media fodder for months now, with this latest thing in Minneapolis, Minnesota, really tipping the scales. And there's a lot of misinformation out there about what's really going on. You gave us a little bit of a tease during one of the breaks there. The narrative says all these people died in ICE custody. 170 U.S. citizens were detained, and somebody got shot. But the numbers don't really prove out. Again, it's a twisting of those same statistics, Dr. Lott. Give us a review of the Trump v. Obama thing here on the ICE enforcement.
well, there are two problems with it. One is just the way they kind of report some of these numbers. So they'll say like 170 Americans were detained by ICE. And there were 170, but 130 of those were people who had been assaulting or interfering with ICE. So it had nothing to do with accidentally picking up an American. They were committing a crime there by interfering with ICE. So they were picked up. And of the 40 or so who were accidentally picked up, you had most of them were released in 24 hours. Most of those were released just within a few hours of being picked up. Not all of them were really detained in terms of going to some holding facility. They may be held in a car for some period of time while they're being checked. And there's literally only a few that were held for more than 48 hours. So, that's kind of one issue. And the other thing, when they mentioned the 32 deaths, I tried to do a deep dive on that because they don't, one of the things that was telling to me was that they don't actually list out the deaths. You'd say, okay, you just say there's 32 deaths. Give me an example of each of the, give me the details on each of the deaths there. But they don't do that. They just say it's 32. And so I tried to go and do news searches because you imagine if somebody dies in custody, that's going to be a news story,
Right.
If they had that. And so I was able to find 3 cases last year where illegal aliens who were detained by ICE died in ICE custody. 2 of those 3 were from the September last year, where the anti-ICE guy attacked Dallas ICE offices or facilities by shooting into vans that were there. And the illegals, you had 2 of the illegals were in one of the vans.
Right.
It was in the van that he shot up.
Killed by
So,
people he was
2 of-
supposedly there to free, right? If he's killing people
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
supposedly set to let free, right?
Yeah, so I don't know how you blame ICE for that instance. and then secondly, the one other guy who died in October died because when he was escaping or trying to avoid ICE, he was accidentally hit by a vehicle.
Right.
So, I would say the guy should have been running away. It's too bad he got hit by a car, but it's kind of hard for me to go and blame ICE for that.
Right.
So, it's just, and then the other general point is, okay, well, how does this compare to past administrations? Well, the problem is that this data just doesn't exist for virtually all the past administrations. The only time it does exist is for the last 2 years of the Obama administration. And now, just so you know, to look at the number of people who are kind of detained and deported, those numbers are very different under Obama. For the reason is that 70 to 75% of those were people who were turned back at the border. Obama counted people that they just said you can't come across the border as part of the individuals who are detained and deported. Trump isn't doing that. These are people that are picked up from within the United States, held for some period of time and deported. So there are a couple points to make out there. One is, even though I'm in my numbers, I include those people under the Obama administration who was just turned back at the border. You have a situation where, you're not really detaining them. So, you can't really have, and you're not picking up false people, because the guys who are coming across the border, it's not too many American citizens who were on the other side of the border and were caught sneaking in. So you're not going to get that 40 number there. And also for deaths, you're not holding them, so they're not likely to die in your custody.
Right.
And so, but even if you include those, what you find is that the rate that Americans were improperly or were detained accidentally for some period of time was actually 3.5 times higher under the Obama administration. If you were to go and remove those people who, were just turned back at the border and just look at interior capture of individuals, it would be many times higher.
Right.
And if you look at the death rates for those who were detained, they were also higher under Obama. And one thing that the people like ProPublica and whatever don't bother reporting for obvious reasons is that you also have issues of accidentally deporting American citizens. And the reason why they don't mention that number is because it looks like under Trump it's zero
Right.
Americans that they accidentally deported. And under Obama, in those 2 years, there were 2 a year. So there's a total of 4 for 2 years there. So, it's understandable that they don't mention those numbers. So look, by any metric that they bring up there, things went better under Trump last year, if you want to compare what was happening there to the only previous data that we have, and that was under Obama.
Right. And the numbers are staggering when you actually break them out. I mean, when you hear about, 170 arrested, but 130 of those were protesters who interfered or assaulted ICE. So the remaining 40 out of 595,000 arrests, 40 mistakes accounts to an error rate of 0.0067%, which, I mean, each one is tough, don't get me wrong, but I mean, 0.0067% compared to Obama's team doing 3.5 times that and higher, and then actually deporting American citizens on top of that. You just don't get the true comparison. You don't get the apples to apples comparison in those things.
Right. Well, it's another way. Just think about it. I can't remember the exact number, but it's like 1 out of every 14,000, or so people that you detain was an American citizen. And again, they were either detained very briefly, often just in the vehicle while they were being checked and then released. You had, you just didn't have them being detained very long.
What does this do to the public's perception on this, Dr. Lott? We got about 3 minutes here. What does this do to the public's perception, this news media misinformation that keeps coming out?
Well, I mean, I go through some polls in the piece, and people can see all this as well as the links to the sources on our website at crimeresearch.org. If you go down and look at the New York Post piece that we've posted there, what you find is that the surveys show that large percentages of Americans. I think the Quinnipiac poll had 57% opposed ICE's actions. You had like 2-1 for some CNN poll that was out there, maybe even more than 2-1. And I think this type of false information from the media is having a big impact on it, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, it's a frustrating thing, especially when they cherry pick the numbers. Again, the dichotomy.
Well, it's not just cherry picking. No, cherry picking is one thing. I mean, that's not good, but just to kind of misstate the numbers.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a frustrating thing, but again, to see a picture of Tom Homan receiving a presidential medal of rank under Obama for doing his job, and then to be vilified with a better job, with a better track record under Trump, just shows you exactly where the news media, I think, is at this point. And really, it makes me question why we are trusting them for any of the information that we're getting right now. It's very frustrating. I'm glad that you're putting out this information. Again, the article is up on the New York Post. You can find it there. I've dropped links to the chat room, and of course, anything that Dr. Lott writes, you can find over at crimeresearch.org. All of his studies, statistics, articles, and commentaries are up there as well. Dr. Lott, we really appreciate you coming on board today to share with us a lot of your insights on this, and keep up the good work, my friend. It's been eye-opening to follow what you've been writing out there, and we love having you on the program. Thank you for coming on board, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Yeah, sure. Well, by going to the website, people can actually see the links to the sources there if they want to check it. The New York Post and a lot of places don't put links that I give them on their thing. So
you can find all the backing data as well, and that's what Dr. Lott's about. Thank you, John. Appreciate you coming on board. As always, have a great weekend.
Same to you, Mike.
Folks. Out of time. We'll see you hour 2 dead ahead. All right, Dr. Lott, thank you, my friend. Anything else? Are you working on anything else you want to tease somebody with here before we let you go?
Oh, I don't know. We got several studies that are there. So they're in the pipeline. Slowly get out there. But anyway.
Well,
all right.
You always keep me informed. I appreciate that. Thank you, Dr. Lott. We'll talk to you again soon.
Okay.
All right. Dr. John Lott, our guest here on the Michael Dukes Show. Some seriously interesting stuff on that. Josh makes an interesting point. Oof, man, that was nasty. Josh makes an interesting point, which I want to get back to, in part, talking about the, general warrants. Where is it? Right here. There we go. He said, but they have the right to enter people's homes under an administrative warrant. Neither is good. And I would agree. There's two sides to this coin, and we've got to ride the middle on this. I have reached out to a Substacker that Brian, who is my right-hand man here in the chat room. He keeps me informed with a constant stream of Substack writers who I don't have time to go out and find, and he drops them to me. There's a Substack out there called Open Source Defense, and it specifically talks about not to get too hype and rah about the ICE detentions and the ICE raids. And he specifically points to it and says, what if it wasn't ICE? What if it was the ATF? And they were going after gun owners. And he makes some valid points. And I've invited him on the program to discuss it. And we'll see if we can get some response from that. But yeah, I mean, there is a line here. We don't, and this is the danger of making this a red versus blue or us versus them thing on the on this ICE issue or any issue, quite honestly, that's facing the country. Because one of the things we need to be careful of is it's fine when it works this way when our quote unquote guy is in office, but what about when their guy is in office, right? What if the same thing happens then and you just change out the players? Are you still excited about it? And it's a very, very valid point that I think OSD makes, and I think that Joshua is making here in the chat room as well. And I think that we need to be very aware of that as well. Frank says the mainstream media keeps reporting on mistruths because there's only 2,000 Dukes listeners. Well, I mean, I would love to have several hundred people in this chat room every day to talk about these things, but there's only so many of us out there that seem to really want to pay attention to what's going on in the state and in certain things like gun rights and things like that. So it is a little frustrating, but we're just going to keep on keeping on, and we'll see. Josh says, what if AOC wins the presidency? Hell, I mean, what I'm really afraid of is Gavin Newsom winning the presidency. The guy who openly and blatantly said he wanted to remove the Second Amendment. He wanted to put out a constitutional amendment that would remove the Second Amendment. I mean, I just, just imagine them being president and having that, power to do so, to control the bureaucracy and to, direct ICE or the ATF or any other federal agency to do these things. It's spooky as stuff. Spooky. Or are willing to attempt to be coherent at 6 a.m. Come on, Brian. Aren't we the old crowd yet? Aren't we the old crowd yet who doesn't need as much sleep and is always getting up early? I always heard about that, my granddad, he was 85 years old. He always got up early anyway, didn't need any sleep. He only slept 3 hours a night by the time he got to that age because he'd already run out of sleep. I don't know. I could sleep anywhere, anytime. I could sleep in all I want. We will, we'll find it. Newscom had quite a performance at Davos, said Chris. I didn't watch. I didn't watch. Apparently, Kim says the same thing, that he made a fool of himself on the national stage yesterday. The guy makes a fool of himself almost every time he gets in front of a camera. I mean, I don't know how they think this guy is going to be the golden boy that's going to run against. I mean, he's like one of the top contenders for the Democratic side for the next presidential race. I don't understand how. I don't understand why. Because I mean, the guy has got his record is disastrous, and between the French Laundry thing during COVID and his handling of the wildfires and his just pedantic, sophomoric ranting on not on Facebook but on X over the president. I mean, he's got his office, he's got his official office out there, spending time tweeting and attacking the president and doing all this kind of stuff and just basically throwing a tantrum on the internet. It's crazy. How that guy still, I don't know how the guy still buckles his pants without help. He's really nothing but a good haircut and a cheap suit at this point. But I wish I did wish I have his head of hair, because the guy's got a beautiful head of hair. That's the only good thing I could say about Gavin Newsom, is that, he has a good head of hair. All right. We're going to continue on here. We got some headlines we're going to get into. I didn't turn the phones on. I suppose I should turn the phones on, shouldn't I? All right, I'll do that real quick. Maybe Fred will call in. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio.
Whoa, buddy. Put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Duke Show.
I have 2 guns, one for each of you.
Firearms Friday.
As Thomas Jefferson stated, it is the right and duty of the people to be at all times armed. Say hello to my little friend.
I say that the Second Amendment is, in order of importance, the First Amendment. The right to keep and bear arms is the one right that allows rights to exist at all.
The Michael Duke Show. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Firearms.
From my cold, dead hands.
Friday.
Take my rifle, this is my gun, this is for fun,
Firearms Friday.
Firearms Friday. Welcome back to the program. It is the best day of the week. Not only is it the end of the week going into the weekend, but it's the one day a week we get a chance to talk about issues related to the Second Amendment, to gun rights, gun talk, and everything else. And we get to finish up the day for the first time this year, finally, with Willie Waffle from wafflemovies.com. I'm excited to bring Willie back on the program this morning. I missed him. He's a good friend. You know, I always have such a good time with him. And anyway, we're going to be joined at the end of the show today, in the end of this hour, by Willie, and we're going to hang out and talk about entertainment and movies and things like that, just because it's kind of fun. Sorry, Brian just dropped a gem in the chat room. I think Brian may have won the internet for today. We were just talking about, how we finished up with Dr. Lott. He was talking about the ICE detentions and how the news media's, misreporting and blatant misrepresenting facts and things like that is affecting it. And Joshua made a comment about how, essentially we needed to be careful. I'm horribly mangling what he said, because he was talking about general administrative warrants being used to invade people's homes, and we need to, that's not good either. And I agreed that, this ICE detention, we should keep an eye on it. I'm happy that they are, arresting and deporting illegal immigrants. A lot of these people already have final orders to be put out of the country. They just never were. And I appreciate that. But at the same time, it has to be done under the rule of law, because as the open source defense Substack makes a point of, we have to be careful that it's done correctly, because what if, instead of being ICE deporting illegals and arresting illegals, what if it was the ATF arresting gun owners and going in without warrants and going in using general administrative warrants, or some of these, and that's the thing. In this country, we always seem to swing back one way or the other. When our guy is in office, it's great. But when those same programs would be used by their guy or gal or it or they or whatever, it would be a real problem, right? So we've got to be careful on that. And so we were talking about candidates, and somebody said, what if AOC is president? And I said, geez, Gavin Newsom. That guy being president would be, because that guy is, he's a good haircut in a cheap suit. And it is just crazy. And I said, how did that guy get to be one of the favorites on the Democratic side for the presidential picks? And Brian wins the internet today with his comments, says, lack of good candidates, not just at the national level, but at the local level. People don't want to follow the extreme rectal exam, which is politics. And that's exactly it. Nobody wants to have their life, unhinged to be able to try and serve the people. That's why good people don't get into politics. That's why most politicians, not all, but the vast majority of them are sociopaths. I mean, that's just, there was what did they call it? What was that? Kleptocracy? That was actually a school of study. I was looking for my link here, but I can't. We should get into that someday because it's a fascinating discussion on this was studies that were done on mostly European leftists who were in power, and a psychologist was doing these studies on them and found out that pretty much all of them were sociopaths, where they sociopathic. And I think most elected officials are, it's like narcissism or sociopathy, one of the two, or both in many cases. It's a big deal. I'm not trying to equate gun owners to sex offenders and illegal immigrants. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying use your brain here, Kim, and look at it and say, these programs are great, but what if these same programs were being put up under another administration? I'm not trying to. Are you saying that you don't think that they could try and stretch it? Because Kim just said gun owners and sodomy sex offenders are a big difference. Okay, I agree 100%. But are you thinking that people on the other side wouldn't try to equate gun owners with, sodomy offenders and traffickers, human traffickers? You don't think that they would try and equate that to it? If so, you haven't been paying attention. I'm just going to say that right there. Just haven't been paying attention. It's crazy. Anyway, all right. I wanted to get into some gun discussion here for today. But anyway, it was a great discussion with Dr. Lott. If you missed it, you can go back and listen to it on the podcast, which is available wherever you find podcasts, including Spotify, which is my favorite. It's my favorite. Some of the big stories that are going on across the country today. The one of the biggest stories, this is around the world, actually. One of the biggest stories, something that just happened yesterday. Now remember how we talk about how all the, America would just be a better place. Would just be a better place if we took the example of Australia, because Australia, that's the high road. Australia. That's always held up as the modern day example of what we need to do, right? That's the deal. But of course we had the Bondi Beach shooting that took place here just a couple of weeks ago. And then yesterday, during the memorial, the National Day of Mourning for the Bondi Beach shooting, there was another shooting. There was another mass shooting in Australia. Now, those are supposed to be uniquely American things. Mass shootings are supposed to be uniquely American things. Of course, in some countries, it happens so often that they don't even bother to report it, right? But in civilized nations, it still happens. It still happens. Still happens in Germany, still happens in England, still happens in Norway, still happens in Australia, right? Oh, but it's a uniquely American thing. 3 people were killed following a shooting on Thursday in a rural town in Australia, the New South Wales. They were called to a town called Lake Cargelligo, which is about 370 miles west of Sydney. 3 people, 2 women and a man died. A 4th person was taken to the hospital with serious injuries, and they're looking for the suspect. They haven't found him. I mean, it's definitely ironic because, again, yesterday was a National Day of Mourning for the Bondi Beach shooting. Now, all this is going to do is to call into question, well, not call into question, but spur those who are in the do something camp to crack down even harder on Australians, who, by the way, are already, facing, one of the the most strident gun control laws in the country. And we saw that right after Bondi Beach. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese jumped at the chance to call for even stricter gun control laws. I mean, this was a terrorist attack. It really didn't have anything. It wasn't some guy who just went and found a gun and did it. This was an intentional terror attack that was basically pushed by radical Islamist propaganda. And his first thought wasn't to address that radical, the radical component or extremism in general or anything of the sort. His first step was to step in and add restrictions to the already enormously heavy restrictions that are limited, that are the firearms laws in Australia. Federal liberals are discovering the price of having been so brazen of their politicization of the Bondi terror attack and may appear to have buyer's remorse because now they're facing significant political backlash. Details of the horror that unfolded in December were still emerging when the coalition first began to demand that the Prime Minister recall Parliament. The opposition wanted Labor to move quickly to tackle anti-Semitism and extremism while slamming mooted gun control forms as a mere distraction of those issues. When Albanese on Monday revealed Parliament would sit for 2 days next week to pass sweeping laws addressing all of the above, one of the opposition's leaders' first response was to criticize how long he's taken. Now, in an entire predictably case of be careful what you wish for, the coalition has pivoted to attack Labor for being in a rush because now they basically ignored the anti-Semitic or the extremism or anything else, and they're focusing strictly on the gun control component of it. We've seen the same thing in Canada, right? I mean, remember we talked about this a couple of weeks ago when when they did the trial buyback in an area with hundreds and hundreds of, they did a trial buyback and they got 2 guns back, right? I mean, this is the thing. People are starting to wake up and realize that that giving up your ability to defend yourself is not the answer, right? Because that's what, we have to take these from you to make you safer. Well, that's just counterintuitive. I mean, to me, it is anyway. How are you possibly going to make me safer by taking the ability for myself to be able to defend myself away from me? How would that be possible? You're going to park a cop in my yard 24 hours a day? It goes back to the old axiom. Why do you carry a gun? Well, because carrying a cop is too heavy, right? I mean, when you've got one police officer for every 1,000 citizens, how are you supposed to be guaranteed defend? And by the way, the protect and serve thing, I mean, the Rose v. U.S. thing back in the day where they said the Supreme Court made the decision that, the ruling that police do not have a duty to protect you. Right? That's not really their job. I mean, they will if they're there, but when it says to protect and serve, that's more branding than it is a mission statement. They're there to be there after the fact. They're there to clean up the mess. They're there to serve as some kind of deterrent, but they don't have a duty to protect you. So I think people across the world are starting to wake up to the fact that you just can't take people's ability to defend themselves away and pat them on the head and say, now you're safer. They're waking up. They're waking up to that. And of course, the politicians, they want to do something. And their knee-jerk reaction is, of course, to remove the tool that the bad guys used that are also used by good guys. I mean, Dr. Lott, again, we were just talking about defensive gun use in this country. 15,000 people murdered by firearms in the United States. Tragic. Every one of those is a tragedy. But you're talking about a country of 320 million people. That's like 0.0006% of the overall population, that 15,000. And of course, the defensive gun use ranges to like 1.7 to 2 million times a year, guns are used by citizens to stop or prevent a crime. In an attempt to save 15,000 people, a big chunk of those, by the way, is criminal and criminal violence. But, I mean, let's just say that they're all Mother Teresa, 15,000. You want to save 15,000 people by having 1.7 to 2 million people having crimes perpetrated against them, including assault, death, and murder? It makes no sense. It just does not make any sense. But Australia is going to try and double down on it. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But I think, again, as just outlined in what happened in Canada, and of course, now we're finding out that the original Australian buyback didn't get nearly as many guns as they thought they did. There were plenty of people who felt like, maybe I should just bury this in the backyard. Maybe I should just stuff this in the attic and not turn it in. We're finding that there's a lot more of those than we thought originally, that people were shockingly suspicious of authority trying to disarm them. It's crazy. It's crazy. All right, we have got more coming up. We're going to continue. I've opened up the phone lines. I meant to mention that earlier. Sorry, my bad. I've opened up the phone lines if you want to call in today for a little gun Q&A. 319-527-3864. 319-527-3864. Anything you want to talk about today that we've been talking about, would love to hear from you. Feel free to do it. We got another segment coming up in just a moment. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. We're back with more in just a moment.
If you missed the show, you can listen to it on your time with Dukes On Demand. Oh, and it's free. Like America used to be. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay, in the break, let's see. Anthony says, firearms are simply tools, and like all tools, people are the problem. You give 50 people a hammer, 45 of them will build things, 4 will smash windows, and 1 idiot will somehow beat himself to death with it. Law of the jungle, baby. Beat himself or someone else to death with it, I would argue. But yeah, law of the jungle. That's just, some people just want to watch the world burn, right? That's the way some people are. Joshua says, all my friends and family that have been police officers have all confirmed that police do not have the duty to protect you. They are there to take notes after the fact the crime has been committed and to do the police reports for evidence for courts, mediators, and insurance companies. I mean, that's it. I mean, this is a Supreme Court decision, came down, 40 years ago. They do not have they can say protect and serve all they want on the car, but that's just branding, right? That's not a mission statement. That's branding. Now, granted, if a police officer is right near you when something happens, of course they will try to defend you. Well, unless you're in Uvalde or in Parkland, in which case they won't. But I digress, right? Too soon? But right. They don't, they do not have the ability the duty to protect you. It's yeah. I'm interested to see what's going on here. Pathocracy. That's what it was. Yeah. Pathocracy, Josh, is the right one. Somebody sent me a link to something 3 or 4 days ago, and then I was reading it, and it was just wow. Pathocracy. And there's an actual psychologist who studied this. And again, he was studying mostly European leftists and found out that it was basically, psychopaths and sociopaths that were running the government, that they love to make people dance on the head of their pin. And they just got glee from basically holding it over on people and being able to control their lives. And it's wow. It's some crazy stuff as far as I would go. Anthony said earlier when I was talking about, substituting the ATF for ICE in these discussions and everything else, he goes, realistically, I don't see it, at least as far as Second Amendment regulations. It would rapidly escalate into flat out insurgent warfare in a heartbeat. And no matter how bad they want guns, they know that that's a bell that can't be unrung. I would agree to a point, but I was trying to make the point, and open source defense was trying to make the point that don't get too hype rah about what's going on. We have to demand accountability and make sure that it's being done in a legal, lawful manner. And I'm not saying that we have to do it. Not only do we have to do it above board, we have to be beyond reproach in those kind of things, right? No shortcuts. That's what I'm saying on that. Okay, phone line 319-527-3864 if anybody wants to call in. Nobody's on right me. I'm just scrolling backwards to see if there's anything else. Joshua said a friend of mine actually got raided by the ATF in 2019 under an administrative warrant. I bet I know who that was. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the administrative warrant. Yeah. I'm going through here. The role / missions was changed when it went from peace officer to police officer. Well, that's the thing. Law enforcement officer, right? An LEO versus a peace officer. I agree with you. I mean, I really want to know, when did that peace officer thing change? It was in my lifetime, but it's interesting. It's interesting here, to say the least. What did I want to talk about here? Sorry, I'm going over here. There's this story here that I would like to talk about. All right. I'm closing down some stuff. Is there anything else that I missed that I wanted to get into? Oh, yeah.
What the hell's an assault weapon?
If we could just figure out how to get all of the murder guns and the attack guns and not keep selling those to people and just sell protection guns, I think that would be great and solve a lot of problems.
Does this mean that if we hurt your feelings, you'd consider the Michael Dukes Show assault radio? Okay, we can live with that. Here's Michael Dukes.
Okay. Again, phone lines are open today for this firearms. I know I was late in turning the phones on. I should have turned them on at the beginning of the hour, and I forgot. I did turn them on, but I forgot to mention that I had turned. You know what? It's hard. Sometimes it's hard being me. I forget. That's what happens when you're a one-man show. What more do you expect from a low-budget radio program, right? I mean, what more can a guy expect from something like that? All right. I'm looking at some of the headlines around here. I was just trying to decide, what do I want to go? Do I want to go kind of lighter side, or do I want to go, into the depths of despair? I think we'll go into the lighter side here, just for a bit. And by lighter side, I mean it's lighter for some, but not for others. Okay, I'll throw that out there. A lot of women, this is Tom Knighton over at Bearing Arms. For a lot of women, there's a real fear of being kidnapped. It's not just being ripped away from their family and friends, but also, of course, what might happen to them while they're in captivity. I mean, that's a thing. Now, if you watched every episode of Criminal Minds, you understand how scary that could be, right? I mean, just the thing. But still, all too many who get kidnapped are either never seen again or are found dead. So the fear is real. Now, in Florida, a woman found herself facing that same very real terror. But luckily, she's married to a guy who owns a gun. From WFLA.com. A Bradenton man fended off a kidnapper who tried to abduct his wife on New Year's Day, according to deputies. The Manatee County Sheriff's Office says that Nicholas Palomo, a 36-year-old felon who had previously gone to prison for kidnapping and other crimes, attempted to abduct a woman who was walking her dog in the area of the 18th Place East in Braden. The woman managed to escape Palomo by running from his car and made it back to her home on foot, apparently, warned her husband about what happened. Detectives said the husband went outside and confronted Palomo, who behaved, quote, in a threatening manner towards the couple. When Palomo began approaching the victims, the husband shot him a single time in the driveway. The good news is the state of Florida will not have to prosecute Palomo because he is decedent. It seems that he may have been under some of the article goes on to talk about, he may have been under the influence of some substance, which may explain his threatening behavior, or that he was just a psychopath. I mean, 36-year-old felon who had already gone to prison for kidnapping and other crimes. I can only imagine. I mean, when you kidnap somebody, it's ransom or something else, right? And I'm thinking, since he was going after probably something else. The State Attorney General's Office of Florida has already ruled this one as self-defense, which makes perfect sense. So this is this is, again, we don't have guns to feel safe, although they, in many ways, make us feel safer. We have guns because the police cannot be everywhere. We have guns so that we can protect ourselves from people who are not only just there with criminal intent, but may not be in their right minds, as this guy apparently was on some kind of, some kind of dope of some kind, right? This is another prime example of what an armed citizen, I mean, I don't know about you, but when I was a kid growing up and whenever I came across an NRA magazine, my favorite column in the magazine was always the armed citizen column. Why? Because I knew that the good guys could win. That's why. And that is amazing. All right, we got time for one call here. If we can squeak it in real quick. I see that Fred is calling in. Let's get to see what he has to say. Good morning, Fred. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Mike. Great show.
Thanks.
Hey, this whole thing you brought up earlier about the Australia and, many other countries and the United States is kind of sort of trying to be moved in that direction of gun control, taking the guns away from the law-abiding while not really, doing their due diligence to deal with the criminal element in a proper way to prevent them from doing what they do. And, that's really, the progressive socialist communist view on that, once again, is not to deal with any kind of criminal control, but more or less to control over the law-abiding. And, that seems to be front and center stage as to what their great plan is. But, people kind of overlook that. Their concept is, if you get rid of tool, the crime will not exist. Which is that's beyond a pipe dream.
Right.
That's just
right.
That's just crazy. Even you try to go down that road because that doesn't work. But this whole concept is they don't care. They really don't care about first of all, the Constitution and Bill of Rights. They have no respect or regard for that whatsoever. So it should give you a pretty good idea of where their head's at and where they want to go with it. Which kind of like goes against the people, goes against the right to the people, the liberties, and the foundation of what makes this country great. and they might throw a lot out their window and turn it into one gigantic open cesspool. Either it would be illegal immigrants in the country or everything else. And there's this whole socialist communist aspect of what they want to do to this country. And people got to wake up. I mean, it's got to be an election year, 2026, on the lesser level. It's not a presidential, but it's going to be everything else. People have to wake up and realize this is an opportunity to straighten out a lot of the mess that they made. And if we don't take advantage of it, it's just going to be more of the same. It's going to get a lot worse, and God knows what's going to wind up.
Right.
So it's time to step up to the plate and do your due diligence and throw the bums out.
I mean, I agree with you, Fred, and I think that's what that's where we're at right now, is that we're really seeing, I think, people starting to wake up and smell the coffee. It's like I was talking about in Australia and Canada, and, you know, we talk about the New York Safe Act, we talk about all these different things, and they all have the same common thread, is that people are not complying with these stupid laws because I think they realize that it's a problem. Fred, hold the line for a second. Back with more Willie Waffle up next. All right, let me get back to Fred here on this. But I mean, again, Fred, I think you're 100% right. I mean, people are starting to wake up, and they're starting to see through the gloss and the you know, the enamel of we're doing this for your own good. And people used to take that, well, not everybody, but I think the vast majority of people used to take that as gospel. But they're starting to see, and especially post-COVID, after all the crazy stuff that happened during COVID, people are seeing that that's more lip service than actual reality.
Absolutely, you know, you're absolutely right. Well, like I pointed out earlier, it's a slap in the face to democracy and everybody and the law-abiding people who live, you know, under the banner of freedom, liberty, and justice for all. And it's just a slap in the face to them. Whether it be Mondani in New York, he's going to be a disaster. So sit back and watch this show. It's going to be really entertaining. What he's going to do to New York City, but it's a total insult to the law-abiding people in this country. And people just sit back and say this is a wonderful thing. Well, it's not a wonderful thing. You're being overrun.
Right.
You know, you're being steamrolled over, and you don't realize that they're being steamed. Whether it be the national media, you know, the mainstream media, in cooperation with this, that's another chapter that should be definitely a heavy look at and find out what the hell's going on there. And I bet you there's a lot of money flying around there that's under their influence. They only do anything for money anyway.
Yeah, well,
That's
I mean,
what drives
they're
them.
doing it for clicks. That's why they're. I mean, again, the whole outrage and clickbait thing that we've talked about. That's all part and parcel of the same thing, right? I mean, that's the thing. They're doing it for the clicks, they're doing it for the advertising, and they're doing it to push their own agenda.
Exactly. Well, like I said, it's time for people to wake up and get a heavy dose of reality as to what's really going on. If we don't, like I say, we're just going to get BS into God knows what.
Absolutely.
That's probably the greatest. That'd be the greatest crime of all.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Fred. Well, thank you for calling in. It's always good to hear from you, my friend.
Okay. Have a good day. Thank you.
Appreciate you coming on board. All right. I see a lot of people are commenting, looking for Ben Carpenter's Oversight Live. Ben and I worked together yesterday for about 2 hours to get his streaming thing up and running, and I had thought that he was going to end up, because there was some restrictions, is because Oversight Live was a new account, yada yada yada. I thought there were some restrictions on, or I thought that he was going to stream on his own personal Facebook for yesterday, on his Ben Carpenter, his own personal. So, but it appears that it didn't happen. I just went over to his Facebook page to see if he had posted a live last night. He hasn't. I know that he said he was going to be doing. What he's probably going to do is, it won't be necessarily live, but he's going to do a breakdown of the governor's State of the State and some of the other stuff from yesterday, and post it up as a YouTube video. Not a live, but just a video that you can review while he's waiting. They had some restrictions on, he's got to have He's got to have up to an umpteen number of days of having a page or a profile up before he can live stream. And I mean, I think the Facebook things, you had to have the page had to be up for 60 days before you could live stream, which is ridiculous. But, you know, anyway, he's working through those things, and I'll let you know. I'll let you know. But you should go over to his YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/@oversight_live, the @ symbol. youtube.com/@oversight_live, and make sure you subscribe there. He has a Facebook page too that's Oversight Live. You should go follow that page as well. And I will make sure that I ping him and tell him to make sure that he posts up and says and tells people, you know, what's happening, because now he's teased everybody and everybody's all, I want to know what's going on, and they don't know. So anyway, that's it right now. But we got his audio working. We got everything going on. We checked everything. I did my brotherly duty to make sure that he's got as much as he can. And, you know, I guarantee the first couple times he's going to go live are going to be rough, but it'll be worth it in the long run. So we'll be watching that, and we'll be paying attention to what's going on with that as well. So don't sweat the small stuff. All right. It's going to be good. Somebody said they sent them. I suppose I could get you the link here. .com/ there we go, right there. That's okay. So this is the link for those of you who don't want to type it. You can follow the link. I just dropped it just in the chat room there. You could follow the link over to his Oversight Live YouTube channel and get it going on. All right, I'm excited. Willie's going to be here. Are you excited? Are you excited? We're going to talk entertainment and stuff and things. It'll be fantastic. So, like, share, subscribe, ring the bell. Let's get ready to do it. Buckle up, Buttercup. Let's go. Okay. The weekend. Oh, feels so good to be at the weekend. This week, though, went by really fast. I mean, but I am exhausted, emotionally exhausted from all the being ranty all weekend. I need a little bit of entertainment. And for the first time in the new year, Mr. Willie Waffle is coming in to join us. And we're glad to have him back. Good to have you back, my friend. Thanks for coming on board.
Well, thank you very much. I will add, I am not only emotionally exhausted, I'm morally bankrupt. And I'm throwing that line out there for my fellow MASH fans who know what I'm talking about.
Exactly. Morally bankrupt. Okay, Klinger, you're on your way out the door. All right. Well, at least you're not wearing, well, you could be wearing a dress. I don't know. I mean, right now it could be happening. Let's you notice he didn't deny it, folks. I'm just going to be the first to say you notice he didn't deny it.
Even if I did, you wouldn't believe me.
Exactly. True. All right, so we got 3 big things on the streams, but we got to get to our news first. And I'll let you kick this off. Where do we want to start? Should we go all the way back to Christmas Day?
Well, Christmas Day, yeah, I think Christmas Day is a good place to go.
All
okay,
right.
you know, you and I for years we've been talking about this. That entertainment's changing. People don't necessarily go to the movies as much. They don't necessarily watch network television. They're into streaming more every day and every year. Well, Christmas Day 2025 is officially the biggest day ever for streaming. The Nielsen company that does the ratings announced Christmas Day 2025 saw a record of 55.1 billion minutes of streaming service in the United States.
Oof.
That is a record that far surpasses the previous record, which was last year, which I think was only 3.9 billion. I mean, so it blew it away.
Oh, that's blew
it away.
Jesus, that's like 20 times what they did. What happened?
Yeah.
What happened in a year, man?
Well, what happened is there was a lot of activity on Christmas Day this year. You had football games on Prime Video. You had football games on Netflix, and I don't know if you remember, there was this little premiere of some new episodes of of a show called Stranger Things.
Oh yeah.
And you put all that together, and plus, I just let's face it, people have changed. Society has changed. Christmas Day, I don't know about you guys, man. I opened my presents, I hung out with my family, and we watched football. And I think a lot of people, or maybe a lot of people, watch their favorite movies on streaming, or they watch Stranger Things together. But Nielsen, the Nielsen company says that streaming comprised 54% of all TV use that day. So that's just people watching through their TVs.
Wow.
I don't even think that's like watching on your iPads and stuff. So crazy stuff.
Well, and again, streaming is reigning supreme, and that takes us to Netflix, who just made a big announcement.
Yeah. So a few years ago, maybe it wasn't it was recently, but a while ago, Netflix said, every quarter we release our earnings and we release our information, and we always give you subscriber updates. Well, we're not going to do that.
Right.
And they haven't done it for a little while, until this week, when they said, oh, by the way, we have now surpassed 325 million subscribers worldwide. Cha-ching.
325 times $14 a month. Holy cow.
Yeah. Plus the ad money they're making on WWE and places where they run ads. I mean, it's insane. It really. This is why they can afford to buy Warner Brothers.
Yeah. You wonder about these multi-billion-dollar deals, and then realize they're raking in $3.5 billion a month. No wonder they're able to make those big offers.
Yeah. So Netflix on top. They're on top, man. Between Stranger Things and buying Warner Brothers, and just everything they're doing, they're on fire right now.
Wow.
On fire.
Crazy, man. All right, well, they got my money. I guess that's all they care about. So that's good. And we'll see. But like you said, everything's changing. I mean, who has regular television anymore? It's all streaming services, right? That's what it is.
A lot of it is. I mean, like, I still have cable, but like I watch through the app. Like I have one of those, like I have like a Fire Stick, and so I just watch my cable through the app. So I don't need like the box and all that other stuff.
Right.
And I think a lot of people got rid of cable altogether. I mean, you can watch a lot of TV live. Well, you used to be able to do it on Hulu, but Hulu's going away. But like YouTube still has a lot of stuff that's available, right through there. Plus a lot of your streaming service, Paramount, I can watch my CBS stations. Peacock, I can watch my NBC stations.
Right.
I mean, you still got ways to do it.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. I mean, we killed cable a long time ago. Although I will say that our streaming bill, it hasn't reached cable levels, but it's getting up there, man. It's starting to get up there.
Oh yeah,
our streaming bills,
it's getting close.
Used to be you'd be like $40 a month. You'd have all the stations you'd want to watch or all the streamings you would. Now it's like $80 a month or something for all the streams we're watching or something. It's kind of crazy. But
oh yeah. And all those prices are going up, dude.
Oh, dude.
On Sunday, I got up and I wanted to see the finale of Landman on Paramount Plus, and the first thing that hits me when I go into the app, by the way, your subscription rate is going up $1 next month.
Every month, man, every month. All right, what else we got left in the entertainment box there?
Oh God, well, how about? Would you like to talk about our new box office queen? This is a big deal. I love watching this.
Okay.
So,
all right.
This is my favorite. So, someone keeps a running tally of which movie stars make the most money at the box office. And it's guys like Robert Downey Jr.,
right.
Samuel L. Jackson, and last year Scarlett Johansson, after the Jurassic Park movie, became the #1 star.
Right.
Well, that didn't last long. This December, or right around Christmas, a new #1 emerged, and that would be Miss Zoe Saldana, who is now the #1 box office star because she has starred in the Star Trek franchise, Avatar franchise, Guardians of the Galaxy movies. She was in some of the Avengers movies. She's done a lot of big movies, and she is now #1 at $15.46 billion of gross box office for all the movies where she was a primary star or a primary member of the cast. Not like little extra appearances or anything like that.
Wow,
Yeah, that's
pretty.
go Zoe.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. And there's 2 more Avatar movies supposedly coming.
Oh,
so
geez.
she's going to keep just going up and up and up.
All right. Well, good for her. But meanwhile, somebody else's star is on the decline, and we all know who that is, or we should by this time.
This is awesome.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it would be Meghan Markle Sussex. I guess she wants to be called Meghan Sussex now. But yes, the infamous wife of Prince Harry, her TV show, With Love, Meghan, allegedly is going to be ending on Netflix. That, season 1, there was the kind of a lot of people checking in just out of curiosity. Season 2 completely tanked because they learned in season 1 this show is not very good, and so their Netflix is pulling the plug. Now they think that what's going to happen is Markle is going to produce little segments on her, social media.
Right.
And she might do holiday specials for Netflix. And they actually found out that while the show itself did horrible in season 2, they did a holiday special, around Christmas that actually did very, very well for them. So they think maybe making her a holiday special is going to be a little bit more successful for Netflix. So we might see that kind of change coming.
And why do we care, Willie? Why do we care? I don't even know. It's just like,
because I enjoy watching the pomposity being deflated.
Yes.
I like, I think that's what it is. I think people tend not to like Meghan Markle because she just rubs you the wrong way.
Right.
You hear stories, and yet true. Many of those stories may not be true, but I'll bet some of them are.
Yeah.
So you want to see her fail. It's like, nobody wants to see Tom Hanks fail. He seems like a really nice guy. He's always doing nice things. He's always very, very funny. Scarlett Johansson. Everybody loves to go see her movies. ScarJo's pretty cool, man. She's funny. She's a good mom. She's out there having a good time, doing good things in the world. I want to see her succeed. Meghan Markle Sussex, I'm okay with, her going away into a hole someplace for 3 or 4 years.
Right. Having a crash and burn is okay with us on that. That's just fine. All right. Well, we got about 5 minutes here, and you got the streams are on the box offices, so let's get started. I know I'm kind of excited about a couple of these, but let's get started. Where do you want to go?
I want to start with Star Search.
Okay.
Our new Netflix series premiered this week, and yes, it is a reboot or a relaunch of the Star Search that we loved back in the 80s and 90s. That was hosted by Ed McMahon.
Right.
But alas, Ed is no longer with us.
Right.
So they have brought in Anthony Anderson, the comedian, the star of Blackish and other shows and other movies. He is the host. We have judges, Sarah Michelle Gellar from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Ooh, yeah.
Chrissy Teigen, the model, and Jelly Roll. And so the format is pretty much what you could expect, right? You've got all the different categories. You got your kid singers, your dancers, you got bands, you got solo singers. They have a variety thing where they're going to do magicians and comedians, and what the real selling point is on the series is the audience votes during the show. So
Wow.
The person will come out and sing their song, and then the thing comes up on your TV or on your device, and you get to vote, and you get to click 3 stars, 4 stars, 5 stars, and your votes count.
Wow.
So the judges get votes, the audience gets votes, they combine all of them into one total, and that determines who the winner is. And the voting online is that's what's selling me on the show.
Yeah.
The show itself is just kind of okay. And, Anthony Anderson's a very funny guy. I think he's a little too scripted right now. It's almost like, he wants to play it safe. He doesn't want to kind of get a little too dangerous. He doesn't want to put anybody off.
Right.
But, as he loosens up, I think he'll be even better. Jelly Roll, however, will say anything. He is quite outrageous and at times very, very funny. And Sarah Michelle Gellar seems to be trying a little too hard to prove that she belongs there. And she shouldn't be trying so hard.
No.
We like her.
Yeah, she's so good. We love her. We love Terry's going to be super excited. She's a huge Sarah Michelle Gellar fan. So we'll see what it is.
And you could you can watch the replays, but you can't vote during the replays. The vote only takes place when the show's on live. But yeah, I'm at 2.5 waffles. It's kind of cool. It's going to be on for like the next 6 weeks. They're on twice a week, Tuesday nights and Wednesday nights, and it's going to lead up to February 17th when they have their big live finale.
Okay. All right. We'll watch that. About 2.5, 3 minutes here. We've got 2 more left. Let's go.
All right, let's go with Steel, the new Amazon Prime series. And I'm kind of digging it. Sophie Turner, she's this office worker in an investment company over in London. When some really bad dudes come in and take them all hostage and force them to transfer a whole bunch of funds into some offshore untraceable accounts.
Yeah, like 4 billion pounds of it, right? But that's just but that's just the beginning. I watched the trailer for this and I'm like, this is twisty. This is twisty.
So that's the first episode. And then it becomes, hey, these guys couldn't have carried this off all on their own. Why? There must have been somebody on the inside.
Oh, geez.
And so the investigation becomes, how are we going to catch these guys? Who's the one on the inside? Will that person be able to handle it? Are they going to crack? And a lot is revealed in the first few episodes. I just don't want to give away too much because I want you guys to be surprised like I was. And now it's like, now we're kind of trying to figure out, how is everybody going to get out of this horrible mess that they're in? I'm in 3 waffles. I am really enjoying it. It's 6 episodes. Each one's about 45, 50 minutes long. It's a lot of fun. I actually think it's pretty cool.
Good. I'll put it on my watch list. I was thinking about that. That leads us to the final movie, the new Chris Pratt movie, Mercy, in theaters.
In theaters, and on the surface, this sounds really stupid. He's Detective. Now, I want you to hear the name. He's Detective Chris Raven. Yes. And it's a futuristic world where people are accused of crimes and they're automatically assumed guilty until proven innocent. And they have 90 minutes in front of an artificial intelligence judge to try to prove their innocence. And if they don't, well, you know what's going to happen.
They die on the spot.
Yeah. Okay. All that sounds really stupid. It's actually very well played out, I believe. I like Chris Pratt. Basically, he's been accused of killing his wife, and he doesn't remember what happened the night before because he was kind of on a little bit of a bender. So we kind of feel for him as he's trying to go through all the evidence and try to figure out what's going on. And it's very visually appealing. The way that you sit in this room, and the thing I remember was like Minority Report with Tom Cruise, where screens are flying in and out. You're flipping over here and flipping over there, and you're playing this video and that video, and so visually you get really wrapped up in it. It's a great pace. It's like about an hour and 40 minutes. I'm at 3 waffles. I think it's an entertaining film.
I like it. I'm excited to see that one as well. All right, Willie Waffle, wafflemovies.com. We got to go. Thank you, my friend. Folks, we're out of time. We will see you on Monday with Josh Church, Lieutenant Governor candidate. Okay, my friend. Good to have you back. I'm looking forward to Mercy. I think that'll be fun. And yeah, Steel caught my attention. That looks. Did you see that Sophie Turner, who, by the way, for those of you who don't know who Sophie Turner is, she played Sansa Stark in the Game of Thrones. So we've seen her since she was a little tiny girl, and now she's all grown up. Did you see she's going to play Lara Croft? Oh, I'm sorry.
She's been working out.
I'm sorry, I had you muted there. Did you see that she was playing Lara Croft?
Yeah, and she's been working out. I mean, she looks like the Lara Croft from the video game.
Yeah.
I mean, I was reading actually because she's been doing a lot of press for Steel, and she said, yeah, she's been working out for something like a year just to get in shape enough to do the movie.
Wow.
And it's paying off. I mean, she looks right now like if you were trapped in a burning building, you would want her to save you. If a bunch of criminals were holding you hostage, you would want her to come in and take care of business.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I was very dubious about remaking Lara Croft. I'm a little bit interested now after seeing what she's gone through and how she's prepared. I think it's going to set her apart from the last run. And I'm blanking on the actress's name, who just didn't look like she should
Everyone
ever be
is
Laura Croft
blanking.
in a million years.
Yeah, everyone's
Yeah.
blanking on the actress's name. We can't even. We remember when Angelina Jolie did it, but then they tried to redo it.
Yeah.
And blah blah. Anyway, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be good. Anything else you're looking at, real quick?
Next week, this movie Send Help. I don't know if you've seen the trailers for this. Basically, a woman with the worst boss in the world is stranded on a desert island with him after they have a plane crash, and she's in charge now, baby.
Yeah. I saw
looks
yeah.
good to me.
I saw part of her trailer for that, and I'm like, what is it? And I was like, oh, this is going to be twisted. So anyway, I look forward to it. All right, Willie Waffle, wafflemovies.com. Thank you, my friend. Good to talk with you. We'll see you next week, okay?
All right, see you next week.
Folks, we got to go. Thank you so much for your time with us today. Don't forget to check out the Common Sense Core on Patreon. We will see you guys next week. Be kind, love one another, live well.
We've shed our terrestrial radio skin, and now we are slimy lizard internet people. It's the Michael Dukes Show.
Goodbye.